has been a very vocal person, and we like that, on mailing lists, and he has some experiences about the product that he's been working on for a while now with Java EE 6 and GlassFish.
Good afternoon. I wanted to thank Johan and Stefan for giving their testimonials first. It was interesting looking at what they put up there, because some of this you'll see they independently hit on the same sorts of things that work and don't work. So next slide. So just a little background about me and the company. In some ways, we're kind of the prototypical Java EE6 customer, I guess. We're not a very technical organization. We're not deep down in the bowels of infrastructure and middleware. We're an end product company, and we ship products that run colleges. Sometimes we ship products as we build them, and sometimes we ship them heavily customized. Sometimes we deploy them at a school that's very tiny and just needs one instance, and sometimes we ship them to a school that needs to really handle a heavy load. We also don't necessarily know the platform that we're going to be deploying on. So in a lot of these respects, we needed, when we sat down to overhaul our 30-year-old higher education ERP system, we wanted to find some kind of a set of standards that was backwards compatible, that was stable, and that frankly we didn't have to worry about. We don't want to be in the business of managing infrastructure or low-level programming. We've got a bunch of people who know the ins and outs of higher education software, and we really don't want to spend our time and money in this age of the app servers getting commoditized. We wanted to spend our energy on the actual business logic and leave the platform and infrastructure up to others who know it much better than we do. And GlassFish has really helped us do that. GlassFish, our usage of GlassFish is really as the reference implementation of Java EE 6. We fully intend to run on as many application servers as we can possibly find that will actually support the full Java EE 6 profile. At the moment, that's just one of them. And here they are. Next slide. What works for us more than anything else, more than anything technical, more than any fancy feature, more than rolling upgrades or horizontal scalability, is just the community. The community and the fact that there is this standard that this application server supports, and supports well. Because of that, we don't have to focus on the lower level stuff. We can deliver what we know how to do. I can't speak highly enough about the community, and if you're here at this event, that means that you must support it too, and I really urge you, as apparently the reigning king of the forum posts, to please help get involved and really support this product. It's great that it's out in the open. It's kind of amazing that it's out in the open. It's kind of amazing that you can take a Java EE1 application and with a minimum amount of tweaks, deploy it on a modern server. And it's out there for you to see and look and play with and work with. So the standards, performance, the community, pluggability and customization. A lot of the places where we deploy have almost like religious standards that sometimes we don't even necessarily think they understand what they're asking for, but some of them will say, well, yes, that's fine, you're a Java EE6 solution, but it has to run on Hibernate, or we use OpenJPA, and that's all there is to it. So we have, in our product, we have a test suite that automatically goes through and tests all of our JPA entities against, last count, the big three JPA providers, and makes sure that all the little wrinkles in the spec, it's harder than you think. But the fact that you can, with the IPS, the update center, and with different facilities down at the OSGI level, you can plug in different of these subsystems, at least on paper, and then obviously in reality, really helps overcome some of those kinds of things that show up on an RFP. So again, the pluggability and customization there. And then finally, somebody early on mentioned the embedded testing. And I don't know if I'm going to butcher this name. I'm very sorry if he's here. Bhavani, I don't know if he is here or not, but the embedded GlassFish server is just fantastic. Once, especially now in the latest release with APIs that actually he seems to have blended the API so that really you're kind of invoking ASAdmin under the covers, so he doesn't have to worry about adding commands to the actual API layer. But now that that's there, you can basically you test your EJBs right there in the container. You don't need to drag in other libraries for it. You don't need to build up archives. You just, there it is. It works. You can test it in isolation. We've caught so many bugs that way, so many bugs, that by the time we actually send it off to our QA group, you know, a lot of the big ones that were gonna kill us, we already caught during testing. So embedded GlassFish, no question. Next slide. Improvements are sort of along the same line. It's a double-edged sword, I guess. Some of the subsystem upgrades, they were talking about refreshing weld and refreshing some of the, and refreshing weld and refreshing weld. Some of these things really should be easier. You should be able to go pick up a distribution of weld, put it down in the right place, hand wave, and oh look, now I'm running with, you know, latest version of weld. I understand that's, you know, there's headaches there, but that the easier that is, the less you have to stand around waiting for another, you know, another GlassFish release to come out. Also, folks who have read my stuff online know what an enormous fan I am of the GlassFish Maven repository. It's often down either, you know, I think either it needs to be a priority or move everything to central, as I know has been underway. And again, just any resources that can be spared into embedded testing just pay off so well down the road. Speaking of religious wars, you've got the JBoss guys on one side pushing the excellent Arquillian project, which I think is going to be, I think there's a session on that later in the week. And so making sure that the embedded tester works with that seamlessly, you know, that would be terrific. Documentation improvements, there's actually a mention of this, that right now there is a ton of documentation out there on GlassFish, and that's wonderful. And that's actually another one of its big wins over the competitors. The problem is there's so much of it that when you land on some page, somebody says, well, here's how you upgrade Hibernate in GlassFish. And it goes on and on and on and on. And then down at the bottom, there's like 15 different answers from people saying, well, I tried that and that didn't work. Oh, well, that's outdated. What you really need to do, and then it goes on and on and on, and then the next guy comes in. Granted, you know, the GlassFish team they haven't achieved world domination yet, so they don't own all of these blogs yet, but I'm sure that's only a matter of time. Until that actually comes to pass, what would be really nice is sort of more of a centralized aquarium, I guess, that gets more updated faster and with more content instead of links to elsewhere. Part of the Google search experience when you go looking for GlassFish documentation is you find it all over the world, which is wonderful, community engagement, but the problem is you find it all over the world. You don't really know whether that person frankly knows what they're talking about or has tried what they're recommending. In terms of community improvements, I feel I've earned the right to say this. The forum software really needs help. I know the Kanai migration was a sore spot for probably many of us. There may be all sorts of reasons that you can't necessarily migrate away from it, but right now it's just if you send something via the email gateway, the format gets lost. If you post on the forum, you're not necessarily sure whether it makes it to the email gateway, and a community lives or dies based on how the people can interact with each other and whether the information they put out there can get archived. Some of the old forum content was not necessarily lost, but none of the links that are out there and all of that documentation that I referenced before, none of those links work anymore. So, you'll run across GlassFish's bug report that references a message in the old forum software and 404. And then this last point was, I think, what Johan was mentioning, which is that we've got this wonderful platform that's open source, and then we all have the domain-specific stuff that we're working on, and that's near and dear to my heart because that's what my company does. And then somewhere in the middle are the LDAP adapters and the custom realms and all those different kinds of standard non-domain-specific, non-platform suitable kind of cross-domain components. And here we all are sitting in this room and out there on the forums and in the community. It seems like a lot of these just kind of get, again, thrown up on the inevitable blog post and say, oh, here's how I made Active Directory work with GlassFish. It'd be great to be able to go to one place, one common one GitHub, one JavaOne, whatever, and be able to pull some of those down. I'm around all week, so if you have any questions, please grab me, and I'd be happy to talk with you about either my company or GlassFish or both. And I look forward to meeting all of you. Thanks.